I love the show. I was wondering, how do you guys, in the writing process of it, you guys also think of what soundtrack to put in for each scene? Because of the songs, the selections, man.
That's all Salim and Kurt Farquhar, the composer. Every time we watch a cut, I'm like, yo, this is one of my favorite songs. I haven't heard this song in like 15 years. So every time I watch it, I'm as surprised as you are. When I first hear it, I'm like, yo, is that Al Green? It is Al Green.
What's the one you think matched up the best between what you wrote and what you saw when you got to see the cut?
I think it was in the last episode, maybe. It was Donny Hathaway's, what song was it? Yeah, The Ghetto, when he was cleaning out the green light lab. Because the songs go over the action sequences and it just pulls you in. Yeah, again, I'm a huge geek. I would be here anyway. So to work on a show that I would watch anyway, and just I'm a fan as well. Like I watch it every Tuesday. Like I don't tell my wife what's gonna happen, so she can watch it like everybody else. Oh, she's good.
So when you started seeing who was cast in the characters, did it change the direction once you had a specific personality for how you were pulling from the comics to create their characters?
Because we shoot in Atlanta, and the writers' room is in LA. So you write for you write for the characters in your head first, and then once you see them, you start giving them things because you're like, oh, they can handle this, and they're great at this, and you just kind of write to everyone's strengths, and it just makes for a great show. Not to say anybody has weaknesses, but it's just you get to know your characters after you see them, like everyone else, and we just grow with that.
Pacing of the show has been very interesting. I think there were some things that, as a fan, I anticipated not seeing till the end of the season, or characters that I expected to stick around a little longer. Can you talk about what were kind of the major goals that you guys really wanted to hit for season?
How can I put this? Our show is like superhero Game of Thrones, so you don't know who's gonna make it out. And no superhero shows like that. Usually you get the steady pacing of, okay, the hero's going to get to this villain, and at the end they're going to have a showdown. We started taking stuff away from you early, so you just don't know what you're going to get. So you just keep watching because you're like, I really don't know what's going to happen. And that's kind of the fun thing about the show. No, go ahead.
One of my favorite things about the Mainline storyline was being in the Tuskegee experiments of before that you guys brought in. What other maybe historical social issues are you guys?
Well, I mean, we pretty much do everything. Again, a lot of us grew up in disadvantaged neighborhoods, so we know the stories, and these aren't new stories. So we're pulling from experience, pulling from the headlines in some way. But like, if you guys saw episode 6 with the statue and all that stuff, we actually wrote that before it happened. Yeah, that was already in the episode, and then a week or so later, like that following weekend, that happened. So we're like, this is the weirdest. It's sad, but the fact that that's where we are, and we're writing to that. I mean, we're on the pulse of the world right now, and people need to have these stories told.
Oh, I was gonna say, it's really impressive to show how it feels more grounded than any other superhero show, but then it also is not afraid to be very fantastic and have superpowers and have resurrections, deaths. What's that balance like for a writer? Is it easy to find, or is it kind of something that took a little bit to figure out exactly how you're gonna make all that work?
It's Salim. Salim is the anchor, and then the family's the anchor. So no matter what you do, everything with the family seems real.
Yeah.
You can relate to it. And then we just kind of write out from the family. Everything is out of character. So we can make it fantastical because you believe these characters that we created would act this way in this fantastical situation because the family is the rock of the show.
Yeah.
And if you can always go back to family, you'll never go wrong.
One last quick question for you. I really like the idea of an older hero coming out of retirement, kind of dealing with the angst of that. So, what was the thought behind bringing out sidekicks in the first season so early?
Well, I don't
And
know
not
if
really focusing on that story.
well, I look at this. I don't look at Thunder as a sidekick, more as a protege. So I think Thunder and Lightning are going to learn from their father, a la Bruce Wayne and Batman Beyond, teaching Terry McGinnis, because at some level, at some time, he is coming out of retirement and he is older. They're going to have to take over. So I think if you look at it like that, not as a sidekick show, but as a passing of the guard show, it's a little different.
Thank you very much. We're very proud of it.
Now, just like some of us are looking forward to Rick versus Negan, when is the Tobias versus Black Lightning showdown going to happen?
It's coming. It's coming.
Episode.
Well, let's see. Somewhere between now and then. Seriously. Somewhere between now and then. It's funny. I actually just made a Negan and Tobias comparison. I think the two of them are the most complex characters, especially villains on TV. I was fortunate enough to write the look into Tobias's past episode, and I think it's important. Villains don't see themselves as villains. Villains see themselves in just the same way that the heroes do. And when you find out that there's a nuanced past behind him, that he has obviously a very complicated relationship with his father, which, spoiler alert, he settled with a nice big hug. I think it's interesting. So seeing that journey of the two of them back to one another, I think it's an important one, And last we saw Tobias, he's shot, his sister's killed. He didn't need other reasons to dislike Black Lightning, so he's coming back with a vengeance.
So you guys wrote, and a lot of this has been done very far out. What has it been like to see the fan response to the show, to the different characters, and is that influencing any ideas that you're doing?
It's amazing to see the response because we wrote it in a bit of a bubble, right? And so it's great. It's really great because it's satisfying to see that what we were doing was in the right path, that it spoke to Salim's vision, which obviously was very important, that it touched on the original source material, and that it created a very relevant world. It's hard not to read the thoughts, tweets, moments, comments, you name it, and get inspired, right? There's only so many things that we can do in the world that we have, but we're very inspired and excited. It's a generator, right? You feel the energy of the fans, you feel the support, and we already know what we want to do, and a lot of that's being reinforced, a lot of it's being challenged, and I think both are really good things as writers.
When you're picking, outside of Tobias, when you're picking the scenes to write, who did you find was the most
I love them all, and that's an easy answer for a writer to say, but when you're in these characters, because they're so distinct, that they're truly unique voices, you want to know who they are. Gamby is, on the surface, the easiest, but as we've gone on throughout the season, he's more and more complicated in all of the secrets that he has, what he's sharing, what he's not. Obviously, Annis is an amazing character to write about. Jennifer is a very smart teenager who has a lot going on in her life. And then if you look at the co-parenting relationship between Lynn and Jeff, you just don't see that on TV, so that's wonderful. I think that Lynn's actually a superhero in her own right, being a mother, being a doctor, being someone who's an ex-wife who's still in love, that had to sacrifice her own marriage with this guy. Crondon has made, as I said, Tobias Whale just the most interesting person. Black Lightning is Black Lightning. We've built a show around him, so obviously we love him. And then Lala, come on.
Yeah, that is an example.
I think go for it.
What are your thoughts on the success of the Black Panther movie as it relates to the success of Black Lightning on TV?
We came out first, fortunately, and I think so we don't say, oh, it was only because Black Panther that people are watching this. I think that there's enough room in the world for both of these heroes. I think they're both amazing. I love that there are two black superheroes that are representing a community that has never been represented in that way before, certainly outside of the comics. I love that it's coming at the time that it's coming at, and that people are responding to both. I think it's actually an amazing thing that is happening today.
When you were on stage, you mentioned that you felt like if people could hear the kind of conversations and the type of people you can talk to, that we would be living in a different kind of world. How do you kind of take what you get to hear in the writer's room from the different types of voices, from the different types of black people, and kind of try to portray that and infuse it in the show? I'm assuming it impacts you. How do you think it works?
Well, I think anything you're exposed to is going to impact you. And if you're exposed to something that you think you know, that goes deeper and deeper and deeper as far as the emotion, the intensity, the levels, the knowledge, it's going to impact you even further. Like, I grew up in a place called Stockton, California, which is very diverse. I've had friends that are of every ethnicity my entire life. But when you're sitting in a room where you're the only Caucasian, or certainly one of few Caucasians in a room, it changes your viewpoint. And, sometimes it's just smart to sit back and listen, sit back and learn. And, if you're given an opportunity to contribute to the conversation, you do it. If you don't, you process.
Oh, my question is actually for your daughter. So, how big a fan of the show are you?
I like it a lot because I feel like I can really relate with the story, which is an important thing for me to have because I'm a young girl and I'm seeing these girl black superheroes and I'm like, wow, I could be a superhero like that, and it's really inspiring. It's also really cool that my dad's like a part of the show, so it's like really inspiring.
Do you ever give him any ideas?
And sometimes
all the good ones.
Sometimes, like, if I notice like little flaws, I'll be like, "Hey, what's that?" And he's always like telling me little spoilers.
I do. That's my consultant. Yeah.
I have to know, is there someone in the writing room in particular who's writing the lines for Tobias, because he has some gems?
I think we all have been taking Salim's lead. So Salim set the template, and once we saw what Salim was going, we have followed that lead. But Salim definitely set because Tobias is a unique character, a self-hating African-American albino. You haven't seen that before. And so once we kind of saw where Salim was going, we took his lead. But all the writers have his voice now, so we're all pitching. We always have great pitches. You'll see some more coming up. Yeah. I wouldn't say fights, but I would say there's definitely battles. But in terms of the best idea usually wins. So we all have our pitches that we're passionate about, but usually the one that is the best one kind of rises to the top.
I love how it's kind of non-procedural,
Yeah.
Like any other superhero shows, and that's so the other ones have kind of formula or equation to it. This one's it stands out.
Thanks. Yeah, we didn't want to do a bad guy of the week or have it be we wanted it to feel a little more like real life in terms of things flow. People come into your life, come out of your life, and it's not all contained in the episode. And that was very purposeful, and we didn't want it to feel like the other superhero shows. And so that was, a thing that we did intentionally. So thank you for noticing.
There's been some discussion about whether or not the show is in the Arrowverse.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's been an effort to sort of match the look and tone of the other shows?
No.
Or is it kind of its own?
We feel like we're our own thing. We feel like we're our own thing. We're our own world. So that's our intention.
I mean, there's advantages to that, right? Because I know that obviously it'd be cool from a fan perspective to see Black Lightning with other superheroes, but also, do you see that there's a big advantage in him in the show being its own thing, right? Without without Black Lightning being like the 25th superhero, being like kind of the main focus, right?
Yeah, that was our thought. We wanted to carve out our own thing, and I think our show does feel different than the other shows, and that's purposeful. And so I feel like the other shows kind of feel like of a piece, of a one story. And because of the nature of the show we're telling, like it's our show is set in a different place. We're dealing with characters that we don't think are being dealt with in the other shows. So we do think that's an advantage. Yeah.
There seems to be a lot, I mean, creative flexibility coming out of the and how much you hear a lot, but how much do the stars have, the actors have to influence their character arcs? How much is there? I don't know. You have to give me a percentage.
Mm. Well, we're partners with the actors, and I think each actor brings themselves to the character, and we have conversations with them. What do you think about this? This is where we're going, and so it's a marriage of sorts, and we all have input, and so we'll write the scripts, and they'll have ideas, and we'll try to incorporate the ones that kind of fit the overall picture. So they have a pretty substantial role. So. I like Two Bits. I feel like, he's a character that I've grown up with. The guy who kind of does things that maybe he shouldn't, but he has a family to take care of, and his situation may not be great, but he has a lot of humor, and he's not essentially a bad guy, but sometimes he does bad things, and so I think Two Bits is a character that I really enjoy writing.
Yeah.
Are there any characters from the comic books that you feel inspired to bring in the episodes within season 3?
They're already in there. You just don't know it. And, yeah, they're already in there. You'll see them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He doesn't. Sometimes I don't like black people, but I love them, And so if you're not, as an artist, if you're not afraid to sort of examine all aspects of who you are, I think every black person has had that experience where a crime has been committed and you're looking at the TV, you're like, oh God, please don't let him be black, and plus Tobias, and you may have seen, I think it was episode 5, where his father would tell him, you're not black, you're not white, you're not nothing. And so his hatred or his dislike for black folk actually comes from his father and the way that he was treated by black folk. And we'll see more of that as the series goes on. But I think it's less of, to your point, not hatred, it's I don't like, because he also said, I love black people. I just don't like thick lips, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You may get them all, sis. You may see the game creep up in there. You may see, just keep watching. Just keep watching. Now that we are a hit, now people are calling me. I had to call them in the beginning.
It's building on the point from Tobias. We were just talking about Lady Eve.
Uh-huh.
Voice, but it's a very unique and more, insidiously villainous way that for a black woman to be seen on TV.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what was the evolution of that character? And just got to do it. And thank you.
Yes. Well, first of all, Jill is just beautiful, and so when I thought about Lady Eve, I was like, okay, it's got to be Jill. So I called her. I just called her because she had worked with us before, being Mary Jane. And I said, Jill, I got this part. And Mara called her. And so, Jill was like, okay. And so I always said, Jill always brings a special voice to anything that she does. And to be honest, I gave her the script and she created this persona, the way that she talks and the way that she sort of moves, and she helped pick out her wardrobe, and so most of that was Jill. Yeah. Yes, I will. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, yes, she was good. Well, yeah, the episode there. I hated that episode, but I had to do it. I had to do it.
Why?
It was so
Why'd you
so
not
poetic.
like it?
Hmm?
Why'd you not like it?
Because I wanted her to stay around.
Oh.
When you were pulling from the comic book and trying to decide which elements you were going to bring in and integrate with the world, it kind of seems like you went beyond just like the nuclear family to build out a whole city. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about the process? Because they were talking about the Tuskegee element, and I keep getting Henrietta Lacks. But you know, when you're building the actual physical world, it's bigger than a lot of the other towns. Like I'm from the country in North Carolina, and I still see my neighborhoods.
Right.
When you have people walking around here, so when you were coming up with that, what kind of affected the aesthetic?
The Bay Area, because I lived in Richmond, California, and I knew people who had never been to the beach. And we have a beach in Richmond. So in the minds of a lot of folk in those sort of cities, that's it. That's it. And it's hard to say or do anything to get them out of that mentality, you know, because then it becomes a fear. Let's go to San Francisco, man. You know, it becomes a fear to sort of move out your comfort zone. But what we don't realize sometimes is in those neighborhoods, the comfort zone is a danger zone. You know what I mean? But we're so used to it that we're comfortable with the violence. We're comfortable with the drugs around us. We're comfortable with all of it. And what I'm trying to show is that we shouldn't be. I'm sort of intensifying things into reality, right? Because in some of these towns are more intense to Freeland, and they don't have Black Lightning. They got the gangs, they got the police, they got the drugs, but they don't have a Black Lightning. So what I wanted to do is make sure that it felt real the way that it felt in my mind at times. You know what I mean? Like, how do you get out of here? You know what I mean?
You talked during the panel a little bit about how the show deals with real life societal issues, and that's such a tradition with like superheroes in general. You know, what do you think it is about these characters that are obviously larger than life, but like are so well suited to comment on things that are happening outside our windows?
Because everybody wants a hero, right? Isn't that what Jesus is all about? You want somebody to come save you from yourself, from others. Jesus was a superhero. He had powers, right? Yeah. And so that's what people are sort of identifying with. That's why you see some of the episodes, people call him Black Jesus. You know what I mean? Because they want a savior. That's why a lot of the titles of the shows say the Book of Lawanda or the Book of this, is because I've read the Bible. I've read the Quran. I've read the Torah. I've read the Book of the Dead. I've read enough to have figured out some things about life, and I'm trying to impart them in a way that doesn't scare people. You know, but I wanted to lay the groundwork before I start talking about the other stuff.